Colorado will take part in Super Tuesday next week as one of 12 states holding presidential caucuses or primaries. Some believe Bernie Sanders may be able to use a Colorado win to bolster his campaign. Meanwhile, some are beginning to think that the GOP may not be able to stop Donald Trump from getting the nomination after his wins in South Carolina and Nevada, despite a blistering debate on Thursday. Let's do a couple rounds on this one. Patty, let's start with the debate since that just happened last night. It was a fantastic political theater to watch. I'm not sure if folks in the GOP establishment were grinning, but it certainly was entertaining. Is there a formula that you see where Donald Trump doesn't get the nomination?
Yes, if he suddenly decides he wants to move to Bali. And the thing about last night's debate had everything, including the kitchen sink, where I believe Ben Carson mixed up his fruit salad. You just couldn't get, it just got better and better. You had the Cuban-American sandwich around Donald Trump, where Cruz and Rubio are punching. And to see Mario Rubio's comeback, I would like to know who trained him, maybe Muhammad Ali, because he really came out swinging, didn't have the flop sweat of previous debates. He really was working on taking down Trump. But the extraordinary thing about Donald Trump is he, like his hair is unflappable, he is undentable. I mean, he just keeps coming. It doesn't seem to matter, no matter what punches land on him, where his popularity lies. People just are mad and want to vote for Donald Trump, and they don't care what everybody else says. There were some other good moments. Kasich, certainly on his Apple comment, made more sense than anyone has on the complete campaign trail this season, but it's not going to get him many votes. Donald Trump is going to be very, very tough to stop.
It's really not a season where common sense on some issues is really going to get you anything.
Sense really reigns.
Exactly. David, when we saw the debate yesterday, many pundits came out and said this was the first time, at least with Rubio and Cruz, really came out and really swung at Donald Trump. Is it too little too late, or is there some actual difference that can be made with simply one debate?
Oh, the selection is going all the way down to June 7th in California. The notion that Trump, because he got 46% in Nevada, that 46% of Republican primary voters will always be for him no matter what, isn't true. He got 25% in Iowa, he got in the 30s in New Hampshire and South Carolina. So there's a range of a high and a low for Trump, and not every Trump voter is so implacable, as certainly some are, but when you come out with the kind of things that is now would be coming out from the Democrats anyway once Trump became the nominee about his phony university and his hiring at his Palm Beach resort foreigners to do seasonal work because he says Americans won't do those jobs. I think some of his support, people who like someone who tells it like it is, may take a second look at that. I want to give you a list of people. Thomas Dewey, 1940. Estes Kefauver, 1952. Kefauver again in 1956. Eugene McCarthy, 1968. Edmund Muskie, 1972. Gary Hart, 1984. Patrick Buchanan, 1996. Every one of them won 3 of the first 4 states in their presidential primary. None of them became the nominee. So the idea that Trump has some luck when fewer than 5% of the delegates have been chosen is not plausible.
I think you've made a lot of viewers feel an awful lot better at that point, David. Thank you. Eric, let's go with the other side of that scenario. Donald Trump does get the nomination. He's the top of the ticket. If you're somebody like Mike Kaufman, who's going to have a very competitive race this year, if you're somebody like one of the 13 Republicans running for U.S. Senate in Colorado, there's going to be one of them finally to be the nominee, are you scared of what that's going to do here in a state like Colorado?
I first have to acknowledge I did not have Estes Kefauver in the bingo game. I did not.
That's a rare one.
You got me on that one. Republicans are nervous across the board, whether you're Mike Kaufman, whether you're a Colorado Republican, whether you're a Republican running for county assessor, county surveyor, or whether you're a Republican anywhere in this country running for governor or U.S. Senate. You are nervous because we're in somewhat unprecedented territory. To David's point, I'm going to half agree and half disagree. The historical examples were very compelling, and there are plenty of examples of candidates who've gotten off to rocket ship starts as the primary and caucus process started and then hit a ceiling quickly and were taken down. In terms of Trump's support, though, there had been a notion that I think is now being disproven perhaps unfortunately so, that his ceiling was in the mid-30s. And that as the field winnow, when you're in a 12-candidate race and you're the guy with 30 or 35%, you're the king. If you're in a 2 or 3 candidate race and you're the guy with 30 or 35%, you're the loser. But we are now seeing that maybe that 35% was not a hard ceiling or a ceiling of any kind. Just in the last couple hours, we hear that Governor Chris Christie has endorsed Donald Trump. In terms of geographic importance, probably not much, but you're now starting to see a process where mainstream politicians are legitimizing the person. We will see very quickly after this debate. I mean, the kitchen sink that Patty referenced is the right metaphor. And over the next 72 hours, there's going to be plenty of exposés of Trump University, of the foreign workers, of everything else. And we will see really quickly if any of that is taking a toll. And if any of these usual messages which bring down mortal politicians work, or if all it served to do last night was perhaps boost Marco Rubio into a firmer grasp on second place, but not really challenge for the top spot.
Ben, the Republican vote that will be happening on Super Tuesday, well, it's been called doesn't count because the Colorado Republican Party didn't agree to the terms of the National Republican Party, but there's still going to be Colorado Republicans voting. How do you think in Colorado, where do the Colorado Republicans go?
Well, it'll be interesting to see. I think we'll see something similar that we've seen in other states where it'll be sort of splintered out and you'll likely see a plurality of support for Trump. I think more broadly, speaking to how Republicans are looking at the field and what their preferences might be, I think that those that are in competitive districts are feeling extremely nervous because if Trump is at the top of the ticket, certainly there's going to be a lot of enthusiasm for him amongst a certain group. But I think as there's more exposure on some of his harder line statements and sort of his contradictory statements, and there's just more exposure in general, I think those people that aren't fervent conservatives who are seeking the most electable conservative, but rather are looking for the most pragmatic person that they can identify with, are going to go away from him. So I think you'll see some of these hardline conservatives in smaller districts be really comfortable and happy with Trump because they'll fire up their base. But those that are in more suburban areas, you asked about Mike Kaufman, I think will be extremely nervous because those Republicans and independents that are open to whatever basically are going to see a lot of that and say this is not a serious person. So, I think Colorado Republicans will really go the way the rest of the Republicans in the country will. And it's up in the air. So.